Welcome to the Agent Series, and I'm your host, Michael Gannotti, and today I am joined by Moris Montejo. Did I say that right?
You got it right, Mike. Yep, you got it right, Mike.
All right. And Moris is here today to talk to us about, I'm really excited about this one, the M365 Copilot Message Center Agent. And I'm really excited because this is one of those examples. We talk about that spectrum of solutions from no code to full code. And this is really going to jump into the deep end for a lot of folks and provide them that opportunity to have something that they can really grow and change for their org and to really meet another business challenge. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Moris. Moris, why don't you go ahead and tell us what this is all about?
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, absolutely. So, right, this is just to continue our series on agents, right? We wanted to kind of show you an example of an agent that's going to be a little different from the ones that you've seen thus far, right? As you know, at Microsoft, we'd like to give you options, right? We like to meet the users where they're most comfortable with, right? So we've, our first agent in the series, right, was built in Agent Builder on the left-hand side, right? What we call citizen devs, like business users. We've made it extremely easy for you to go in and build agents in Agent Builder. And of course, right, Agent Builder in SharePoint Online, even easier because every SharePoint site now has an agent and we allow you to create one custom, give it instructions. And then as we approach the right side of the spectrum, right, we start to meet our true, citizen devs, what we call makers, right? Copilot Studio, very powerful, right? Copilot Studio is what's behind Agent Builder. And the example today is going to be an agent, a declarative agent, right? So one of our, still a lightweight agent that has instructions and it can do tasks, right? It can do actions. And what I'm going to show you is the Message Center Agent that is built with Teams Toolkit, and credit to our colleague CSA, Mike Francis, right, that has put this together. And he calls it actually no code, right? If you talk to him, this is a no code because he wrote the code for you. So it's templated. It works out of the box. And we'll talk a little bit about his GitHub repo where all of you can actually get a copy of this and implement it. But sky's the limit at this point because we are in true code scenarios, right? So just a little bit about what this agent tries to solve, right? And this is not specifically to health and life sciences, right? This is a problem that every org faces. I was telling Mike here that before Microsoft, right? This is a challenge that I had as a 365 architect, along with my other architects where I came from. We could not keep up with all the changes that Microsoft was pumping out, right? Things were falling through the cracks. I would have, users come to me, like, put an engage on Teams, be like, hey, we saw this on the, some article on the net, like, when is this going to be enabled? And we're like, what are you talking about? So things were falling through the cracks. We could not keep up with the 365 Message Center on the 365 Admin Center. So this agent, right, solves for that because there's a constant influx of messages, right, that we're, publishing every day. Just imagine, right, this is not just about Copilot because Copilot is one of our hard products, Mike, but, 365 as a whole is a beast, right? Everything has. So keeping up, it's a challenge. So this agent allows you to have, right, an assistant that is a 365 admin. You can quickly go and some user comes to you and says, hey, I saw this agent store, right, on the news yesterday, like likely, right, we're due diligent. There should be a Message Center item that maybe you just haven't had time to like go look at and look at the details. So this agent, you can quickly, just through a natural conversation, go in and find information about anything that we're publishing, right? So it makes it easy for admins to stay up to date, right, for the admin team. And there's potential to make this available as well, right, outside of the admin group. Like kind of think as you kind of see what we're going to demo, we could, securely make this available to end users as well. So to address the challenge, right, Mike Francis, another CSA here at Microsoft, created this declarative agent using the Teams Toolkit. Teams Toolkit is an extension of Visual Studio. So if you are right, an IT admin that dabbles in Visual Studio because you've done some PowerShell scripting, or you have pro devs that live in Visual Studio, right, this will resonate with you. But don't let Visual Studio shy you away, right? This is something that, I'm not a programmer, right? I'm a low-code developer, but I can, follow instructions, and we'll kind of show you the step-by-step instructions that Mike has provided for all of us. And that's what I actually follow to bring in this agent into my demo tenant that I'm going to show you from. So go ahead.
Yeah. So real quickly. So I love this because it's one of those stories where they did go into Visual Studio, and it's published out on GitHub, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can be taken, the project can be opened up in Visual Studio for your your full stack programmers can go in and start to do all kinds of things with that baseline code.
Correct.
But you can implement it as is, as an agent, following instructions without it doing any coding.
Correct. Absolutely. So that's where, it's really no code because the code is already built for you as a template to just implement. So absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely. So here, right, before I jump and show you the agent in action, right, it's a declarative agent. We have preloaded, right, our typical suggested prompts so that you don't even have to type anything. You just kind of click on one, but you can, of course, type your prompt, your utterance back to it. And what can we do with this one, right? Number one, we can search for messages, right, that are going to, this uses the Graph API behind the scenes. And it's going to go search, right, the message center. So you can do things like, give me the top 10, messages around Copilot, right? Or we can say, show me all messages that include agent store in the message body, right? Which was one of our newest announcements this week. And searching is one thing, right? But using the power of AI, how I would use this, right, as an IT admin. Okay, I got the information I needed, right? I can read through it. But let's take it, to the next level. Hey, Message Center Agent, generate a draft, right, about this agent store message so that I can share it with the rest of the crew, right? And then you send that over, and then it's going to give you, right, an email that you can just copy paste, send it to Outlook, and now you've communicated it to the rest of the team. You can get insights, right, about the impact. We're able to say, hey, show me messages that are major that we should be paying attention to, right? And things like that. And just, more than anything, having a conversational assistant that you can talk to as opposed to, being kind of reactive and trying to, look at a huge list because it's a huge list when you go look at it from the 365 Admin Center. So with that said, let's jump into it, Mike.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Yeah, when you were talking about how it can be overwhelming, I hear all the time from customers when I'm talking, and they're like, I totally missed it, and now it's rolling out. It's like, well,
especially because we tend to roll things out right with on as opposed to just because we want to empower our users. So this is one again, right? If you're an IT admin, this is for you really to help you keep up with the changes. So here we are, and I'm going to show you this from sometimes we've shown you some agents from like the Teams, right? Copilot experience. I'm going directly to the web to our Office portal, and I'm using the Copilot experience on the web, right? Because my user here has a Copilot M365 Copilot license, so I have both work versus web. But I'm going to show you that we allow you to use agents either or. So here I have the Message Center agent, right, running. Here we have, right, the specific, right, just so like I said, our suggested prompts. We call them starter prompts in the agent world, right? Up to you to decide what these prompts are. After the demo, I'll show you a little bit of the Visual Studio behind the scenes, right? We won't spend too much time there, but just to show you how do we create the instructions? Where do we put this in, so I'll show you what that looks like. But so really quick here, right? Our hot product, search for Microsoft 365 Copilot updates. And then that puts the final Message Center updates related to M365 Copilot. There we go.
All right, so it's logging us in, and
it's logging
us in. Going to run that.
Perfect. Yeah. So as you saw, right, what we were doing there, like I mentioned, the M365 Message Center, right, is behind doors, right? You have to have an account to be able to read it. So we've built, this uses an app registration behind the scenes in Entra that handles the authentication piece. So every so often when you come in, right, you might need to re-authenticate again to get a new token. But again, right, we lead with security by design. But yeah, so going back to the use case, right? Just super simple, trying one of my suggested prompts, final message center updates related to M365 Copilot. And you see that this gives us 10 records. And this is something that you can change on the code, right? We just have it set to show us 10.
Was that in the back end, then it's
correct.
stipulating 10 and then it caps it?
Correct. Okay. Just because there could be a lot, right? And you can play around with that number and you can kind of sort. Sure. But this, right, as we look at the output, right, I see, this message here. It gives me the created date, some additional details, the category. And this is important too, right? Is this a major change that I should be, that I need to take a look at? So, but from here, what I'll do is I'll kind of go back just to take a look, do a couple more tests. I like this one, right? This is very powerful for me because sometimes the titles can kind of be misleading. I know that. I've been in the shoes of an IT admin architect where sometimes the title doesn't make sense. So I want to be able to, look in the body, right? What the good stuff is of that message. So I'm going to select this starter prompt here, and I'm going to change this to show me all messages with Agent Store. I've been seeing Agent Store, show up on a few articles on the web. Like, what is this new Agent Store? What's Microsoft doing? Like, do I need to worry about, this as an admin? So I'm going to send super simple prompt, show me all messages with Agent Store in the message body. And here, this will come back and hopefully give us, so see this one, it found a total of three. And let's see here, 365 Copilot app updates for licensed 365 users, Wave 2 Spring release. And then it tells me, right, okay, that's Agent Store. So, looks like Microsoft continues to deliver, right, making the product better. So here, right, what else could I do with this as an admin? Because that's the one that I was looking for. Let me do this. Please, and I'm always polite to my, digital assistant, right? You don't have to say please, but I'm always, Mike, I've always treated it with respect. Sure. Please draft a comms email that I want to send to the rest of the group so they are up to date on this particular one. So I'm going to pass that message. I'm going to hit send. And then this is typical, right? Gen AI powers of being able to take that. And now you see it writes me an email format with the subject, dear team, right? I didn't give it, we can play around with the formatting, but this kind of gets me what I wanted to do right off the bat is just, get that formatted. And then there's some functionality that, we've added to the agent. This is an adaptive card. This actually gives you, right, all of the information that comes. That's just kind of like that citation, that receipt, right? And there's still some, we can customize, clean up the HTML a little bit because often these messages have like graphics, like we give you screenshots of what things will look like. So again, there's always room for us making this even better. But this is just a quick example of, right, now that you have an agent that queries, right, that message center, we can, do and just be able to talk to it as opposed to just doing old school searching like we've had to do right before AI was a thing. But yeah, what do you think, Mike?
I think this is great. I mean, so again, going back to the whole idea of being overwhelmed, and there is so much that's out there. I'll give you an example. So one of my customers, and I'm sure he's going to watch this too. So I'll just say, hey, Sam, that's all. I'll leave it there. But if you're looking, those people who are looking to keep up to date, he was looking around Researcher and trying to find information on Researcher. And this was before we did some of our announcements publicly, but there was internal stuff and on the message center. This would have been a great way to go and pull that information and get what he needed and find out that, around analysts and see if there's other related Wave 2. I mean, just the idea of Wave 2, right? In the body, that's something in the body because we had all that information coming out around Wave 2. Be able to, I need it at a glance, and what do I need to worry about? Boom, and here we go.
No, just being able to.
This is real world, right?
This is real world. Yeah, this is going out to the true message center behind my demo tenant. So this is showing you message items that were released, right? You see the date for 23. So it keeps you, again, being able to just and quickly grab, right, what matters, right? You can tell it, give me in 2 lines, summarize this, because sometimes they're pretty wordy. But yeah, that's a great, this should resonate with a lot of our clients, right? It's not HLS specific. I know you're struggling with this because I've struggled with this in the past myself. So
And I like what you did though, showing that iterative. Okay, I need to message out now to my broader team.
Yeah.
Boom, and it's just telling it, hey, craft an email around the information here.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
nice.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So that's the agent, right? And like we mentioned, Mike Francis, he's got, and we'll provide you all with all of these links,
GitHub.
right? This is the GitHub repo where he's made this available, this template to anyone that wants to, get kickstarted with this. And he did a fantastic job of step by step, right? What this has behind the scenes. So this is a Teams Toolkit, declarative agent. And he tells you, right, the requirements. So this does require an app registration to be set up on Entra. Right, that's going to handle the authentication. We tell you exactly, right, the endpoints that app registration, it's going to, along with the permissions that it needs, right? So, of course, we need to be able to read, and it uses delegated authentication, Mike. So, like, whoever gets their hands on this agent, right, they, it's going to use their own permissions. So they need to have at least, right, the ability to read Message Center in the 365 Admin Center. But from here, he tells you exactly the few pieces that you need to change in the code. And this is where I'm going to jump off a little bit, right, to Visual Studio, just to kind of show how this looks different from what we've shown you thus far, like in Agent Builder or Copilot Studio, right? This is Visual Studio. And this is basically, right, the Teams Toolkit that allows us to, and believe it or not, Teams Toolkit already comes with like templates, right? If you wanted to create one from scratch, we actually give you all the, different JSON files that you need, and you just start, filling in, right? What you want the agent to do.
What I like with this is, again, he's going step by step, and I am not a coder. I mean, I am the farthest thing. I can do some HTML and JavaScript, and that's about it. Hello world, right, on a web page. But I've done projects like this from GitHub where I had to open Visual Studio, have the extension, because they walk you through. You're not actually coding. You're just doing some configuration step by step.
Exactly.
So IT pros can jump right in with this.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here I'll just show you a couple of, right, what a declarative agent looks like. So this declarative agent.json file is one of the most important files with it, right? This is where you see those conversation starter, those starter prompts, right? This is where we control that. And this one is, an example of a declarative agent that's task oriented as well. So it's able to make that call over to the Graph Message Center API, right? So there's an action in here that, right, is what makes that happen. So this AI plugin.json, right? This is where we actually show you, we're going over to the Message Center, right? We're getting an output. And then my favorite, right, in the agent world is the instructions, right? So that's going to return some JSON output, right? How do we tell Copilot to clean that up so it shows us like, text that we can understand? So here's the instructions for this agent, right? You're an agent that retrieves messages from the 365 Admin Message Center. The query, right, should always return the total number of records. That's where I mentioned, right, the count. So we, kind of show you 10, otherwise you could find a lot. And ultimately, we say you can build queries compliant with this output. So here's like the JSON output that gets returned. And then we tell it, right, we give it more directions. The output, I want you to display the total number of records. And this is also interesting, right? The markdown, right? That's how we're able to tell Copilot to like bold things, Mike. Something that, as you get better with instructions, right? We can kind of control, right? Again, going back to like the expectations that we give the agent with instructions. And here we tell it, right, what we want, because quite a bit comes back from like the message item, but we just care about, the ID, right? Additional details, is it a major change? So this is how we, right? Mike Francis is not like doing some crazy formula to like, split and, things that we've had to do in the past. We're just telling it in plain, English, what we want it to do.
And it's already, I mean, if you don't want to change anything, it's already there in his code.
Exactly. Yeah. We're, he's giving you all of this, right? He gave you the instructions that often a lot of us struggle with coming up. So yeah, so all of that is here. And, some additional notes. But yeah, this is what it looks like. And the Teams Toolkit, right? This is the Teams Toolkit. It's an extension that's available, for free on Visual Studio, right? You connect to your tenant, and ultimately you're going to have, just easy way to provision this so I can make changes, provisions this, and then the agent's going to show up right on that agent builder. And if it's something that you want to make available, of course, right now I'm testing to dev, but you saw it already, like usable in the Copilot experience. right? If I were to publish this, right, the best way to do it, I would publish it to an actual app that my admins, right, this is for admins. You can go to the integrated apps on the M365 Admin Center, and that's where you can actually approve the app, deploy it to, other users in the org.
Right.
So right there, not much changes from like how we develop and publish agents in our other flavors that we give you. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a little look from, what it actually looks like, the files that you're going to get. And like you said, Mike, the only things I had to change were a couple of lines where I pointed to my tenant, right? And all of that is actually called out on his instructions, so we don't have to spend too much time in here. But yeah, this is basically right a great example of a modern way of staying on top of like Message Center using our agent technologies and
Love it.
So
yeah,
absolutely.
no, thank you for bringing this to us. I love it. I think this is something that every IT shop that's working with are going to want this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even apart from Copilot and querying about Copilot, like you said, this is about the whole M365 in the Message Center, right? So, which is a ton. I mean, it is, M365 is huge. This allows you to find out that information. You hear something, hey, proactively go out and take a look and start to see what's happening. So I love it. And appearing right there is just another agent in Copilot chat.
Yep. Another agent in Copilot chat, right? Our UI for AI. So that's the idea that it, again, kind of bringing it back, right? We give you various, we meet you where you happen to be. It doesn't matter who you are, right? This is, again, you have to be comfortable with Visual Studio, but the idea is that however the agent, wherever it was created from, right? Our end users have one-stop shop to be able to find all of their agents that, either you've created that you've been given access to, right? So you're not having to go to, all kinds of places to use them. So yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Well, thank you very much for today. This was great. Look forward to more from you. I know I'm going to be pushing this out to everybody I know. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
And for those who tuned in, thanks for watching, and tune in for our next time. More on its way. Have a great one. Bye now.